My albums of the month for March. This past month wasn't quite as stacked in terms of albums I personally loved throughout the past few months. February was a pretty big month in terms of albums I personally ended up loving. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stack this roundup up with releases I got to pretty late, because there were a few that I arrived at quite late in comparison to their releases and when they officially came out. So to keep people in the know of all the great releases that I've found so far in this year, I'm gonna mention them here as well. So yeah. Start off by mentioning the new single from Vale-Smith, Buffalo Staple, my boy, my good friend Vale-Smith, with his new track. The album is coming out pretty soon. You should definitely check out the single. Might put a link to it in the description as well. Don't usually shout out singles like this, but you know, because he's up and coming, because I know him quite well, I thought it'd be nice to give him a little bit of a mention, hopefully boost his name and get people checking him out, because he does make some really cool electronic music that I think deserves more attention, and hopefully with this new album, when it drops, gets him a nice little boost. That would be really good. Now for the releases that I want to bring up, starting with Arca. Didn't quite love this, but I definitely think it was really cool, and I am really interested to see where Arca takes their sound for the album whenever that's coming out. There's an album coming out soon. Some of the names that have been brought up and mentioned in the production credits and stuff, oof, could be amazing, but it also could be as good as this single here as well, because this single is really good. Like, it's an hour long, it's classified as a single for some reason, and it is wild and strange and odd, and not for everyone. I certainly did see it kind of make the rounds on Twitter, and people saying how it just wasn't proper music and all that kind of stuff. You know, it is when weird stuff gets a bit viral, people don't quite fully jump on board with it, but why would they? Because Arca is just one of the strangest musicians out there in the moment, so of course people aren't going to take to this. But hopefully, if you give it a few listens, you might find something to appreciate. I do also want to mention Navy Blue, an album that did come out in February. Listened to it actually on the day it came out, I think, or the day after it came out. Didn't quite feel it that hard, but I kept going back to it as time went on and reviewed it just a few days back actually, and 2 months later it has eventually clicked with me, and I realized the brilliance of the production on this. Some of the best hip-hop production I've heard in 2020 so far, and I definitely think it'll stick with me as the year goes on, because Navy Blue is just a really interesting and warm rapper that kind of lures me in with the way he speaks, and it's very much in the style of your Earl Sweatshirts, your Mikes, you know, that really abstract hip-hop sound that's a bit lo-fi, mixed a bit a bit dirty, a bit muddy, but it definitely has a lot to offer when you sit with it and give it some time. Quick mention to Dogleg 2, an up-and-coming post-hardcore rock band that I think are honestly on their way to putting out something really great in the future. But this debut album is actually quite strong, so I'm definitely impressed with what they gave us on this first one here. Even if their influences are fairly obvious, there are sometimes bands that crop up that, yeah, sure, they definitely have their influences, but they can put their own twist on it and make it their own, and Dogleg are definitely showing some potential early on. Next, I want to mention Dua Lipa, a huge pop artist who came through with one of my favourite pop albums of the year, and not only that, of the past couple of years. Like, mainstream pop, I don't think it's been that strong recently. There have been a few albums though that have gotten quite a huge amount of critical acclaim and a lot of attention from critics and even like at the Grammys and stuff, but none of them have ever really fully clicked with me in the way that Dua Lipa did on this album. It's nothing really lyrically special. In fact, it's really the opposite of that. There are definitely writers out there at the moment that certainly are stronger than her in the pop world, but I think she just has so much personality. She just knows how to bring fun. Like, that's just what I want from pop music. She kind of gives me everything I was looking for. It doesn't necessarily have to be deep or lyrically potent or whatever, because as long as the songs are incredibly fun and catchy, what else matters, man? That's what Dua Lipa is doing right now. She's bringing a lot of fun to the pop world, and yeah, it's needed. Rap Ferreira, also known as Milo, dropped an album in the beginning of March, actually. It was very early on in March. Didn't quite click with me at first, similarly to Navy Blue, actually, but I sort of started to appreciate it a lot more as I went into more listens. The production is really strong, honestly, coming from Kenny Siegel and his crew. Like, just so good. Kenny Siegel's a great producer, honestly. He can bring out the best in any rapper. And honestly, this is some of the best produced music that we've ever heard from Milo, actually. And it's a great start to his new, I guess, identity, because he's retired the Milo name. We have Rap Ferreira now, and it's a strong start. It's a really strong start. It has many of the issues I always have with Milo, though, in his writing and his lyricism. But I still think we're getting some of his best music to date, and that's all I can really ask for, to be honest. It's some really good hip-hop here. Now I want to mention an album that came out way back in January. In fact, you may even remember my album of the month for January was by an artist named AceMoMa Ready, under the Gallery S name, and that same month, this guy collaborated with an artist named AceMo, and they dropped a great album too. Like, who the hell is out here dropping 2 great albums in 1 month? I don't know. If you can find those artists, please send them my way, because AceMoMa Ready is out here doing that at the moment. And apparently as well, he's just dropped a new EP, which I haven't checked out yet, but I found that out earlier today of recording, which is mad. So this guy is ridiculously prolific, but if the music continues staying this great, it's some really, really great like drum and bass techno type stuff. If it continues at this level, then he's easily he's going to become one of my favorite artists around at the moment. And to be honest, he slowly is making his way up there anyway. Fantastic releases here, and definitely check them out if you're wanting some fantastic electronic music for the year 2020, because it's been really strong so far for that genre. And may as well end on my album of the month for March. Fortet is one of the most consistent artists in the electronic world. He has been out here, I think, since the late 90s, early 2000s-ish, dropping genuinely fantastic releases just consistently, man. And yeah, this new album here is great. It's just incredibly soothing. It's very much a springtime release album. The production on here is just so on point. Some fantastic samples used. He uses an Ellie Goulding sample on one track. Honestly, man, Fortet, Kieran Hebden is just so good, and he has just kind of crafted what he's been doing over the past few years on albums like New Energy, and just kind of like refined what he was doing there and just made it into something really delicate and beautiful, honestly, on this new album. And I can't really say no to it. It's definitely not the most creative he's ever been, but look, he's still out here putting great music out there, and I'm fine with that. So yeah, easily my album of the month for March. Was a nice little surprise too, because I wasn't entirely sure if he'd deliver, because his past few releases haven't been quite great, even though they've definitely been good. I just wasn't entirely sure if he'd drop something I genuinely love. And yeah, this new album here, easily my album of the month. We'll put a screenshot of songs on the screen here as well, and then maybe even a link to my Apple Music playlist in the description box. But I think most people use Spotify, so maybe if I turn this into a Spotify playlist too, I might have to do that. And then you have both. You can see some of the songs and find out some of the songs I've been listening to and I think are great as well. The Eyes track, This Is Not a Drill. Oh, what a banger. What a friggin' banger. And then that Polo G, Mike Will Made It collaboration thing as well. There's another artist on that track too. Like an absolute banger. These two are neck and neck for bangers of the year so far. Definitely check those out as well if you want some really hard-hitting, just in-your-face bangers. The friggin' Empty Country track as well, Marion. Didn't really think much of the album, but Jesus Christ. Shout out to Theo as well. The boy is always putting me onto some random music that I never really quite find on my own, but he's just out here finding some crazy good stuff. Yeah, what a great song that is. Honestly, check that one out too. Of course, we have some tracks as well from albums that have come out this past month. Teenage Bird song from the Forte album, Levitating, great pop song from Dua Lipa's album, and a few others as well that you should definitely be checking out, and hopefully you enjoy them as much as I do. What is your album of the month for March? Tell me some of your favourites, tell me what should be on my list that isn't here, and yeah, thank you for watching, and have a good day. Goodbye.